Okay, welcome everyone to our class on in-depth study. We're trying to go through this piece of Beit Yosef Bach from Har Sinai down to our present age, and watching what each people do, what each generation does in unpacking the information and making it accessible with practical halakha. So we've started on Har Sinai with the pasuk, and then we went through the Gemara, Reb Machlokus Reb Shmuel, and we concluded in the Gemara like Rabbi Akiva, which is that the pasuk that says Meitav Karmo means that the mazik has to pay with the best of his land. So if he did $100 worth of damage, he has to give $100 worth of his best land to the nizak. Then Abaya had a problem, because how could the Torah on one hand say the mazik has to pay back with the best of his land, and then all of a sudden say that he can also pay back with Shaveh Kesef, the absolute worst subin. So one would negate the other one. The best of land should mean that you couldn't give subin, and subin would mean certainly you should give the best of land, which make that pasuk unnecessary. So we, in the Gemara, narrowed the field down to two positions. The position of Reb Papa, who explained the pesukim to say that really money is the getting money to the nizak is what we're talking about, and there's no distinction when it comes to metaltalin, meitav and non-meitav. Even the worst is called good, because the nizak will get his money back. And when it came to karka, that really shouldn't have been even acceptable, because it's hard for the nizak to sell it and get his money back. But the Torah said, give the best of your karka, the best of your land, and that should excite the buyers around to buy the land. So we then went to the level of the Rishonim, and we saw that the Rif paskins like Reb Papa, and Rabbeinu Tam paskins like Rav Huna. I didn't say Rav Huna. Rav Huna says simply that you have to give Kesef or Meitav. And Reb Nachman says to him, wait a minute, what about Shaveh Kesef? He says, that's only if you don't have. So the way we learned the Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi is that if you want to pay back your debt to the nizak, then you can use Kesef or Meitav Karka. And if you don't have either of them, then and only then are you allowed to give back Subin. That's how Rabbeinu Tam pesaks. Then we had the Ramah with a hay, and he made a vertical set of a vertical hierarchy. He said that when it comes to Nezikin, money is first. If you have money, you have to give it. If you don't have money, then you can give metaltalin, and if you don't have metaltalin, then only then can you give the best of your land. The Ramah lines up with the Reb Papa. I should have really put him on this side. Okay, simply brought in the Beit Yosef. He lines up with Reb Papa, but he says a very interesting svara. He says, what's the svara of Reb Papa? The svara of Reb Papa is that we have to get money back into the hands of the nizak. So money, therefore, is the best that you can give to him, and that's actually the first priority. If you don't have money, then metaltalin is second best, because you can get rid of it very quickly by going here and there. And third best is, if you don't have money in metaltalin, is to give meitav. So that was the Ramah. Then we had the Rambam, who has a variation on the Ramah's position, which is that you can give, well, he didn't talk about kesef. We're presuming that he's holding it's kesef or metaltalin, and only after that can you go to subin. So we didn't know exactly where he fit in yet. That's going to be part of the work that's going to be done. Rush, Pesach's like the Rif. He says that you can give all three items equally, Kesef, Shavet, Kesef, Mitav. He rejects Rabbeinu Tam because of this Gemara with Rav Kahana. And that was the end of the discussion of the Rishonim. Now really, his son, Rav Yaakov Ben Asher, writes the Tur. So I made it green because it represents a new level of halachic reality in Klal Yisrael, even though he's Rishon. And the Tur breaks down the halacha into 4 parts. Unlike the Rambam, who spoke about everything, the Tur just writes about Choshen Mishpat, which is what we're in, the laws of litigation and nezikin and all sorts of issues in the court between Ben Adam and Chavro. And there's Orach Chaim, which is all the laws of the holidays, and Even Ezer, all the laws of women, divorce, marriage, and Yuridah, which is kashrus, shchita, and all those laws. So in the Tur, we're going to read the Tur, and what we have to understand in the Tur is where the Tur is holding. Again, no one's making up new halachas, so he's either getting it, and his aim really is to take the Masara and the Rishonim and to tell us which way to go. Okay, because like in this piece we have a 4-way machlokas, what the halacha is, big differences in what the mazik can use to pay back with. So the Tur writes Shulchan Aruch to help us come to a Pesach. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of times he brings down various Rishonim, and that's where the Beit Yosef Bach will come in and do another step of consolidation and give a final Pesach where the Tur leaves things open and says that gives us various positions in the Rishonim. The Yosef Cairo and the Shulchan Aruch will come to a definitive Pesach. He uses the Tur as his format, but brings the Tur to a conclusion, to his conclusion. And we mentioned that when he writes the Shulchan Aruch, it's going to be weighted toward the Sephardic opinion, because he used the Rush and the Rif and the Rambam whenever there was a minority 2 against the other 1, so then he went that way. That's how he decided the Pesach, which of course weights the halacha according to the Sephardic opinion, and therefore the Ramah with an Aleph for Moshe Isserles comes along and he writes his notes on the Shulchan Aruch and brings in the Ashkenazic opinion. Okay, so we're holding here, however, in the Tur, and we're going to read the Tur. We actually did read it. We'll go over it. We're going to then read the Beit Yosef, which is Rav Yosef Cairo's commentary on the Tur. Then we'll read the Bach, the Drisha, and the Lavush. So that will be our work. Okay. To get a little sense of these people, where they are, this is what the Tur looks like, more or less. The Tur has where Rashi usually is the Beit Chadash on the right, and the Beit Yosef on the left. 1 second. No, it's not true. That's what I thought. The Beit Yosef is on the right. This is the opposite page. And the Bach is on the left. And we have the Darkei Moshes, the Ramah down here. and Prisha and the Drisha. So that's the people who are here on the page. When they lived, very interesting. Again, here's Rav Yaakov ben Asher, who's the Baal of the Balaturim, he's called, and he's on 1269 to 1343. We have a 100 years break where everybody really is accepting the Torah. And then the Beit Yosef comes and he writes his commentary on the Torah and writes his own Shulchan Aruch. So on the tour, we have these people. The Rambam goes on and writes the notes on the Shulchan Aruch of the Beit Yosef. Will be involved in Lavush, who was a student of the Ramah, the Drisha and the Prisha lived very close in time with them, and the Bach, who lived a little after. So these are the people who we'll be dealing with, who comment on the tour. Now, of course, the people on the tour are also going to comment on the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll see exactly what they do. Not everybody, but some of them, like the Ramah. So let's now get into the text itself and review what we went over. I'll read it this time until we get to a place where you can take over. The tour says like this: Keshabayin ligvos lenizak nisko rowan. When we come to collect for the nizak, the damage, then we have to look. What do we have to look for? Im yesh lemazik metaltalin. We're going to look at two things: if the mazik has metaltalin, and later on we'll see if the mazik doesn't have metaltalin. So if he has metaltalin, then the Torah says ein yordan lenichsav limborkarkasav. If he has metaltalin, we don't tell him, we don't go down to his property and sell his property. Ela yiten metaltalin, but we give metaltalin before going to his karka. And he says, "V'afil sheyesh lo kesev yochol l'shalmo b'subin." Even if he has kesev, he can pay with subin. The call mile the metaltalin meitavhu, because all metaltalin is called good, so you can give the worst metaltalin. Im ein lo metaltalin. What happens if he doesn't have metaltalin? Then and only then are you yored lekarkas idus ben nechasav. Then you go down to sell his property. Vafilu im ziburas shel mazik tova ki idus shel nizak eina makabel mimenu ela tzog shiten lo idus shebekarkasav. We said that the Gemara concluded, and this is the halacha brought down in the tour, that even if the mazik has property that's equal to the best of the nizak, but he has super duper AAA property, so then tough luck. Rabbi Kiva said he has to give his AAA property. Now, im yesh lo shnei idus, what happens if he has two properties which are equal? Then the rule is that the nizak cannot say, give me the A property, A edus and not B. Let's say A is closer to his fields or something. He has no rights to demand which one of the edus he gets. Ella talui baratzon hamazik liten mashi yirtzeh. The mazik can give any one of his properties as long as it's the best. Aval kashem mazik chofetz gam can liten lo idis should be cash. Now, what happens in the scenario where the mazik wants to give the idis land that the nizak wants? He just happens, I'll agree with you, I'll give you that B land which is next to yours. Then we say like this, but it's the winter and the price is low, and he says to him, so please wait until the price goes up. And he says, im tirso, so if you want this land, this next to yours, like give me the price of the high price in the spring. So the din is we don't listen to the mazik. If he wants to give that land, then it has to be. The idis land that he's going to give to the nizak, no matter what it is, the one he chooses or the one he agrees to give to the nizak, is always evaluated at the present price, which is, if it's in the winter, that's a lower price than it would be, right? That's what he says. Torah. So here the Torah is very clear, and he says that the kesef is equal to subin, and therefore the mazik can give, if he has kesef or subin, he can give it. And the only time that we're going to take meitav karka away from him is if he doesn't have kesef or subin. Okay, so the Torah is very clear about where kesef is. We were not that clear about where kesef was, according to the Rambam, if you remember. He didn't talk about kesef. He talked about the Beis Din collecting first from metaltalin and then only kesef, so that he does share with the Rambam. Also, this language, Keshaborin Lahagos and the Nezek, he shares with the Rambam. But he puts the kesef equal to the supin. Okay? Unlike the Ramah, who put kesef above. Now the question is going to be, this is what we started to get involved in, what is the source of the Tur? Now before we can discuss the source of the Tur, we have to go back to his father. We have to go back to his father. Let's see if I have his father here. I did not put his father here. Let me go back to him, I'm sorry. This is the last time we met. I believe I did not. Let's go to the Rush. Now, remember that just the Rush had this problem of who the halacha was between Rav Huna and Rav Papa. He pesaks like the Rif that its halacha like Rav Papa, and he had to eliminate Rabbeinu Tam, who held like Rav Huna, and Rav Papa said, wait a minute, how can you do that? Because, excuse me, the Rif said, how can you do that, Rabbeinu Tam? Because the halacha is like the Basroi. The Basroi is clearly Rav Papa, and he knocked out Rabbeinu Tam. Gave two possibilities, and Rabbeinu Tam knocked out both of them. At the end of that piece of the Tur, he talks about Balchov. Okay, you with me on that? And this is very, very important because this is going to be what the Beit Yosef is going to say influenced the Tur, who is the son of the Rush, to put Meitav on the bottom. Okay, so let's read this. He says, "Le'inyan Prius Balchov," says the Rush, "Nearly islay lalova metaltalin v'karkei kafinin lay lamesiv lay metaltalin." He says, when it comes to paying back a loan, the debtor who wants to pay back the loan, if he has metaltalin or karka, we force him to give metaltalin. Im chofetz b'hachiamal v'yoter mikarka. That's if the creditor wants it more. In other words, the creditor here has the choice to say, Mr. Debtor, you have land and you have metaltalin. The creditor can decide which one he wants. And the debtor has no say in the matter. If the mazik wants his metaltalin, then he has to give it. Okay, that's what he says. Why? And he gives a svara. Kevin dezuze yehiv shakol kol mile de mekar le tfei. In the case of the Malvelova situation, since the creditor gave money, he has a right to take everything which is closer to money. What's closer to money? Between metaltalin and karka. Metaltalin. How do we know? The lo mizdabin bahai masa mizdabin masa chrisa. How do we know the metaltalin is better than karka? Because if it's not, if you're not able to sell it here, you can sell it somewhere else. Okay. Now, notice here that the Rush did not say anything about Meitav Karka here, right? He just explained that what Reb Papa clearly said was metaltalin has an advantage over Karka because you can sell it. When it came to Nezikin, the Torah said, okay, you can also give Meitav. but normal karka not. So the Rush says nothing about Meitab because Meitab has nothing to do with the debtor creditor situation, only has to do with Nezikin. And he makes a rule here, nearly, that the mazik, the creditor is allowed to demand metaltalin over any type of land if he wants it. He can also demand land too. But what's the svara? The svara is since he gave money, he's right to get money back. Now, ubedihivle metaltalin, when the debtor gives metaltalin, afal gab damrin kol mile meitavhu afilu subin. Some people call that yesh l'shum kol ma shenoten lo b'shuma shichol amal v'lamokro midi be'oso shuma afilu b'beso v'lo yitzterech ligzor ba'arios u'b'shvukim kedei limkor. He says when the creditor, the malva, says, okay, I want your metaltalin, so we evaluate the metaltalin, the price of the metaltalin, of what it's worth here and now. And even though theoretically he may be able to wander around and get it at a cheaper price somewhere else or another city or sell it easier, we say no. We evaluate it here and now. Why? And he gives another svara, the Rush. The imlo kain, if we wouldn't do that, but we would say the mazik has to take this metaltalin and go flying all over the place to other places. Dim kain nilas delis bifnei halovin. If we didn't give that consideration to the creditor, we end up closing the door in the face of other debtors. No one would want, if the creditor knows, hey, if this guy doesn't have money, why is he buying money? He probably doesn't have money. So when he pays me back, I'm going to have to take his brand and go flying around all over the place. Well, I'm just not going to loan it anymore. Why should I lose my money? It's bad enough I'm giving the money. Okay, it's a mitzvah, fine, but not getting anything from it. But now I'm going to have to run around to all the towns to sell it? No. So the Rush says when it comes to malva, we have a rule that we don't want to close the door to creditors. And we say we evaluate the brand, if he's going to get the brand, or what it costs here, and not what it costs somewhere else. So we say shiten lo pachas mi, okay. Dim lo kain, if we wouldn't do that, then no one would borrow money, no one would loan money anymore. Shiten lo hapachas shebabeso im eno lo maos, he's allowed to give not the creditors allowed, or to give the worst of his metaltalin if he doesn't have money. So then what would happen is the malva wouldn't be able to sell it immediately. They'd have to run around to this place and another place. And he can't say, there's another mix here, when it came to the mocher, or what it came to a person who was working for someone, so if the employer doesn't have any money, he could always say, okay, so take the stuff that you helped me make for your wages. But that doesn't apply over here in Malva, because there's the Malva, there's no product at all. So the Rush, it's very interesting here. Again, we didn't really stress it so much because we didn't have this piece. I mean, I didn't show it to you. But the Rush now does go in this piece, which is Siman Hay, from talking about Nezikin, where he says that you use Meitev Karka, Kesef, and all forms of Shavik Kesef and Nezikin, to discussing Baal Chov. And in Baal Chov, he says we have this din that metaltalin is taken before Meitav. Okay. Now, we needed that. Yeah, please.
This Siman Hay is where is it positioned relative to
It's in Nezikin. It's exactly the same. It's in Baba Kama. Unfortunately, we spent, not unfortunately, but we had to spend a lot of time on the first part of this Siman Hay. That first part of Siman Hay, which is in Baba Kama, on the part of the Rush is writing on Rav Huna Omer Kesef Ameitav, okay, and he brings down Rashi and the Rif and the Rabbeinu Tam, and then he shows why Tam is not worried about Basroi. Then he knocks him out, and then he continues to talk. That was that whole big issues that we spoke about, and then he continues right on the same siman to talk about Iyun Prius Valcho without any break. Okay, so this is just a.
Okay.
I wrote a number 2 because it's a separate issue, not a separate. It's an associated issue, but. It follows right on the heels of Nezikin, okay, and rightfully so, because Nezikin does not have Nezikin has this law of Meitav, which doesn't exist in the law of Balchov. So if you asked me to read the Rush simply, I would say, well, he just told us in Nezikin you can use all 3 items equally, right? That means Meitav, Metaltalin, and Kesef. But he has to tell us in Balchov, there, the Nizak cannot pay back with all 3 things equally, even though, I mean, he's the one who's paying back here. He's the Pareya. He's the one that's paying back. So whereas in Nezikin, the Mazik who's paying back for the damage can use all 3 equally, and it's his decision. When it comes to Balchov, the person who's paying back here cannot use all 3 equally. Okay, he has to give metaltalin before he gives karka. So the simple reading of this Rush is to show the difference between Balchov and Nezikin. Okay, all 3 of them are equal in Nezikin, and here land falls to a lower level because we're going to close the door in the face of borrowers if this guy is going to have to hang around with even a piece of land that no one's going to, buy for him. Okay, and even the metaltalin, we tell him, the price of this metaltalin is what you get here and now, because we don't want to shut the door in the face of the needs of potential loaners. Okay, so that's what the Rush actually said. So we're now faced with this tour, and he's talking about Nezikin here. He's not talking about Balchov. And he clearly puts Meitav underneath Subin. Now his father did do that when it came to Balchov, but he clearly stated why he's doing that, right? So we're going to see in a second, we read last week, the Beit Yosef is going to say, well, he must have understood his father differently than we understood his father. So we'll read that inside. Because the source that the Beit Yosef wants to say to put Meitav underneath is the Rush's explanation of Balchov. That's what he says. And the Torah wants to import what we know from Balchov into Nezikin. That's what he says. So, but that's the action, and you see a lot of this is the Torah. A lot of what we read is the Torah, right? We said, here, for instance, we said, he added other pieces from the Gemara. But he says, you see? Just like his father said, the kol mila metatlan meitavhu, v'shamano so kafi mashi ochol miyadu mikomo. Immediately, okay? You don't have him, he doesn't have to fly around. But he says if he doesn't have metaltalin, only then do we go down to his karka. No, there's a problem. So let's read Beit Yosef. Again, we did this last week. I'm doing a lot of reading because this ground we covered last week, but we have to be clear about it. The Beit Yosef says, his commentary on the Tur is the following. Here's the quote of the Tur first. That's standard operating procedures. You quote exactly what you want to comment on, then you do your commentary, if you're a maskil. So he says, "Keshabayim ligbos lenizak nisko, ronim yesh lamazak betaltalin. Ein yordan likosov lemechakarsov eliyiten lo metaltalin." So you see, if he has metaltalin, then you don't touch his land. So the Beit Yosef says, well, Kain Kasava Rush prepare Siman Hey, that's what we just read. Le'inyan Priyas Balcho, Vizela Shano, and he quotes again, very clearly, he quotes what we just read. Le'inyan Priyas Balcho, nearly, Im Isle Lova Metaltlin Mekarke, Kafinin Leila Mesiv Leo Metaltlin. If the debtor has metaltalin land, then we force him to give his metaltalin. If the malva wants it more than he wants metaltalin more than he wants the land, well, the nizak has no choice in it. Why? The Zuzi Yahiv, excuse me, the comma should be here. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll fix that. Since the creditor gave the debtor money, so he has a right to shackle call midi the mikrev l'suzei to take everything that's closer to money. And what is that? Behind the metaltalin. Why? The ilom is daven behind mas, daven be-masechrisa. So he quotes very clearly what the Rush said about Balchov, and he's following. V'dima Rabbeinu, the Tur is Rabbeinu, the Tur compared Prius Nezikin the Prius Balchov, and he concludes that it must be that the Tur, not the Rush, the Tur compared how you pay Nezikin from how you pay in Balchov. Well, halachically, it looks like that he's doing. And he says, "Va'afal pishiyesh chiluk b'neihem." Now, of course, there's tremendous distinction to be made between Nezikin and Balchov. Da'at kan lo amar harash el b'Balchov. The Rush only said that the land falls underneath. He only said that in Balchov. Mishum dekem de Zuzi Yehiv. He said clearly why, because since the creditor gave, he has a right to get back. Aval b'Nezikin like a high timer. But we don't have the svar in Nezikin. There's no reason. All it was done was the land was taken away from the Nizak, but he never. The Nizak never gave money. So anyway, the Beit Yosef says lo mashma l'Rabbeinu. Even though there is this distinction that could be made, and the Rush made it between Balchov and Nezikin, lo mashim l'Rabbeinu. The Tur did not feel that was correct. They came to lo ishkachan, the pilug rabbanan b'neihu bahachi lo mifli. So he says, since we don't find the reason why the Tur didn't want to make this distinction is because we never see that this distinction brought out in the Gemara. In other words, what he's saying from what is that saying? From a lack of comment, since no one made this distinction clearly, so the Torah felt that we have to import what was said about Balchov, and Balchov it clearly does say that the debtor has to pay back metaltalin before land. So the Torah imported that svara that we know in the Gemara from Balchov and imported into Nezikin against his father. That's what that's how the Beit Yosef explains this halacha in the Torah. Okay, is that clear? Mm-hmm. Now,
yeah,
good. It's definitely a chiddush. It's definitely, and everyone has wonder about this Torah. It doesn't seem that's falling into the categories that we've created. Where did he get it from? So he got it on his own from his understanding of Balchov and imported what we know in Balchov into Nezikin on his own. Now, the Beit Yosef continues, Umash ketuv apil sheish lo kesev, even if the nizak has kesev, he can pay with subin. That's what the Torah said. Yochel shalmo b'subin. Why? The kol mile metalton meitavu. Because when it comes to metalton, there's no distinctions. It's all called good, and therefore it's just equal to kesef. So you have kesef and metalton are equal. The only thing that dropped down a level was karka, meitav. Now, the comment of the Beit Yosef, he says, this is a maimer of Rav Papa, Rav Huna Rav Yeshua, Beparakama, the Baba Kama. This is our famous Rav Papa and Rav Huna Rav Yeshua, which says that Kesef is equal to Metaltlin. Now, of course, we have the question of where did Meitav come in here? You see? We thought that Meitav was equal. So he's going to have to understand, if he's learning, his question is which one of these two people he's taught. It's very nice that he imported the information according to the Beit Yosef from the halach and the Gemara of Balchov. But where is he standing when it comes to Rav Papa and Rav Huna? So what he's saying is that he can't be Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says, "Oh, kesef meitav." So and only metalton but he can't be simply Rav Huna. So he is Rav Papa in regards to kesef and metalton. They're equal. That far the Torah is with Rav Papa. But when Rav Papa said, the Torah said meitav sedehu, and we thought that was a equal compensation. What you lost in the ability to go to different places, you gained by the excitement of the local people buying the property. We thought that was an equality. And he's going to say, no, we learned from Balchov that, in fact, Rav Papa would push metalton into a lower madrega. That's how he has to explain the Torah. Now, here's the din of the Shuma, which he imports from his father. When we decide how much this metalton is, we don't tell him, go flying around different places, get the best price. We say, what is the price here? And the Beit Yosef quote we just read, V'zeh lashon harasham, Ukadihivle metaltalin, says the Rush, when he gives metaltalin, that's the nizak, that's the mazik, I'm sorry, afal gab damrinin kol mile meitav uvafilu subin, even though we say that he can give subin, because that's meitav, yesh l'shum shenosen lo b'shumish yochel amav l'mochro miyad u'b'oso makam. Again, this is what he said in This is what the Rush said in Malva. He did not say this in the Zekin, right? And this is clearly. He says, "Afal pi de'amrin kol milei meitav v'lusubin yesh l'shum kol ma shenochel shenosan b'shum sheyochel hamav l'mocha miyad u'ba'oso shuma afilu b'beiso." When this is talking not about in the Zekin, it's talking about the creditor, the debtor. We evaluate any metaltalin in the now. The creditor does not have to go around to different places to sell it. Dim low, because if we don't do this, then again we'll be nilis delis b'fnei halovin. No one will want to loan money anymore, and that's the reality. If you ten lo pachos mi bebeso im ein lo maus v'hamal v'lo yochel l'mochel alto. Because then what will happen is he'll always give worse junk, and the malva won't be able to sell it immediately. So we know that. So we tell the lover, if you're going to give him subin, we're going to do it in the now. Now, that's what the Rush actually said. Now, this din was imported again into Nezikin according to the Beit Yosef, right? Ushamin and Rabbeinu the Tur, dehu adin l'nezikin. And again, this is the commentary of the Beit Yosef. Va'afal pi sheyesh chelik b'neihem, there's an obvious chilik of trying to not close the imkain lo oma rush babal chov. If they there's an obvious chilik. I mean, why did he wait till Baal Chov to talk about evaluating the subin in the here and now? Because he said we have to do it because we have to make sure that people loan their money. That has nothing to do with Nezikin. So the Beit Yosef is aware of that, and he says, "Va'afal pi sheyesh chilik b'nei between Nezikin and Balchov, dal korcha lo oma harash ela b'Balchov mishum the lo nilas teles." He said clearly why you don't have to run around and to different cities and sell the metaltalin, because of the problem of nilas teles b'fnei alovin. Aval Nezikin the lo shayachai taima lo mashman. But Nezikin, that doesn't have this business of trying to, protect make sure creditors keep the money. Lo mashmil Rabbeinu. He says again the same svara as he said above. The Torah didn't want to make this chilik. His father made the chilik between evaluating things in the now in Baal Chov and in Nezikin, where you don't. In Nezikin, he can give the Shavik Kesef and then the Mazah can give it, and the Nizak has to go around and sell it. But Lo Mashmil Rabbeinu, says the Beit Yosef, this wasn't the way that the Torah understood it. Lo Pligi Rabbanim B'nei Hulein Zeh, because again, there's no distinction to be made. In the Gemara, you won't find the case where they make this distinction. So what he's doing again, that means the Beit Yosef is explaining the Torah as importing the dinim from Baal Chov, both dinim of Baal Chov, that Baal Chov is before land, and also that Baal Chov you evaluate in the here and now, and he's importing both those dinim to Nezikin, and that's how he explains the Torah. Okay? So we see the work of the Beit Yosef. The Beit Yosef is trying to understand the Torah, and this is how he does it. He says, unlike his father, who said there was a clear distinction between Nezikin and Baal Chov, as far as the hierarchy of what you give first, and also the evaluation, his son did not feel that was a valid distinction, and that we could import what we know about Baal Chov into Nezikin. That's how the Beit Yosef explains the Torah. Okay?
It's a little bit, I like it. It's stronger than we said last time. Last time when we looked at this, we said that the Torah sees a kind of, according to the Beit Yosef's reading, the Torah sees almost like an opportunity in the Gemara, and the fact that there's no argument between the Rabbanim and the Gemara, so it's like he sees that an opportunity to equate the two, whereas his father makes a distinction. But now you're saying stronger. You're saying that the fact that there's no pligi in the Gemara is, for him, a positive indication that the chiluk shouldn't have been made by his father.
Right. Exactly. Very good. Exactly. Okay. Now, let's continue and go further and see if he says, Umashikatuv v'im ein metatlan yordan lekarka idish b'niknasav. And what the Torah said, well, if the Nizak does not have metaltalin, only then we go to the best of his property. There he quotes a Mishnah, which we didn't do yet, in Reish Perek Nezikin. We're going to have to do that Mishnah, okay? To there, okay. That's a surprise, because we kept thinking that there's only two people that talked about the hierarchy, right? It was Rev Papa and Rev Huna. So now the Beit Yosef opens us up to a new Gemara, which we did not discuss yet. Okay, and which we'll just have to get to, but I just don't want to get to it now because it opens up a whole new vista. But we're going to have to look at that Gemara, okay, and how he brought that in. It's a very important Gemara. Okay. Umatuv filu im zibris the mazik tova kiidis shel hanizik ein makalu mino elat sarchi ten lo miidish shibakar kasav. That's bereish babakama vav amad base. There is what we read. That's clear what we read. There was machlokus there between, and he's going to bring it. Tana Rabban Meitav Sedei Meitav Karma Yishalem, Meitav Sedei Meitav Karma Shal Nizak, the Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva Omer, Lobo Chasav Eliglos Nzikim. It is, we came to the conclusion in the Gemara that they're arguing about what? The Rabbi Shmuel Sor Ben Ezik Sheminan, V'imahai Se'idis and Nizak Zibris Tabazik, Zibris, and Rabbi Kiva Sor the Mazik Shaminan V'hiv Lo Idis V'kaimalan Halacha Ka Rabbi Kiva Michal V'aro. Okay, and that's the rule. The rule is when you have Rabbi Kiva arguing against one person, like in this case Rabbi Shmuel, the halacha is like him. So he said you have to give, the mazik has to give, he has two grades of idis, and one is a super duper idis, he has to give that. Okay, fine. Now we're ready for the Bach. The Bach now is going to disagree very strongly with the Beit Yosef. The Beit Yosef, again, is saying that the Tur has imported what we know about Balchov, both hierarchy and evaluation, into Nezikin. And that's how he got his din. The Bach is going to disagree. Okay? Interesting. So, I don't know if we started this, then maybe you could read now after that. You see, as we go deeper and deeper and deeper into these issues, so there's more subtle things happening here, you know, and takes a longer time. I'm just reading the pasuk, you read Rashi, right? But that's the whole beauty of what we're doing here, to see the depth and how each of these details are being opened up and where it's coming from. No one is inventing things. But here, for instance, very important, do you learn the laws of Nezikin from Balchov or not? Are they independent or are they related? Well, that's a svara, and that's a machlokus between the Russian and the Tur, according to the Beit Yosef. But let's see now. You can read the Bach now. He is a little later. Down here, the Bach. Again, very interesting. These people that I showed you in the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, the Lavush, the Lavush is going to be a separate book we're going to get into, the Drisha and the Prisha, and the Bach we're doing now, they're all from Poland. They're all Ashkenazi. Okay, so we can expect some anti-Beit Yosef opinions here. Okay, but let's see what we do in reality. We said there was a golden age in Poland, really, also. The parrots, whoever the prince over there, invited the Jews in. He was very nice for a long period of time. Unfortunately, that changed in recent history, but for a long period of time, Poland was very good to the Jews. We were there. My own family in Lomsha, I have records, believe it or not, that go back to 1750 from Lomsha, which is a small little place. So that's it.
Of what, of your family?
On my mother's side, yeah, my mother's side. My mother's side is called Hazo. So my uncle gave money to redo the Beit Kvarot there that were all broken up. So as a thank you, they went into the archives and they did the research. So I have a family tree of the Zalazo side, my mother's side, that goes back to 1750.
Wow.
So, but it was well known that not well known. If you do the research, we think of Poland as very anti-Semitic, and they were during the war. But I think before the war there was something like 3/4. Before World War II, there was like 3/4 of the Jews were in Poland, in that area. All the great yeshivas were in that area. Poland, also Lithuania, in that area. But things change. Okay, let's read. Let's read the Bach. Okay, let's go down to the Bach now. Okay, I'm going to put you on the floor. And how's your little iPad? Is it small? Or should I blow that up a little for you?
Yeah.
Modern.
Actually, I can do it myself on the iPad.
Oh, you could do it yourself. Oh, wow.
Tool.
What the new
Yeah,
toy.
it's
Okay.
okay. Top Yutet, Kshabai Hagway Sechuloi. So this is
Quote of the
comment on where
tour.
they come to collect.
Mm-hmm.
The quote from the Torah, right. Nira the Rabbeinu, Mamad the Psoik Kach, now he, the Perchakuf, the Bava Kama. So it seems that the tour came to Paskin in this way from Perchakuf and Bava Kama.
Parakama, Baba Kama, the first parak which is,
so
okay, he doesn't have the page reference, but he is.
I thought it was, okay.
Parakama of Baba Kama.
So right in the beginning, right, the Rabba from the Rumia that was set up by Abai to Rabba. Kasav Metav Sadehu in Mide Achrina Lo. When it says Metav Sadehu, when it says to give the best of the lines, that's what the Gemara means, but not another form of payment.
Well, that's what Torah means, actually.
Sorry?
Right, that's what the Pasuk says, right? In other words, that's what...
Right, that's in the Gemara.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Tanya...
I'm
going to play.
Right.
Okay.
So we have another pasuk that says Yashiv, and that means to include also Shava Kesef, anything that is equivalent to money.
Right.
Afilu Subin, even bran. The Asik Rav Papa Rav Huna Bereider Rav Yeshua, Kol Mi L'Meitavu, and Rav Papa Rav Huna Bereider Rav Yeshua said that anything.
They conclude.
Everything really is equivalent to Asik is to conclude.
Yeah, like a maskana. Askina,
okay.
I think that means conclude, like a maskana. Or maybe you're not, asik. Well, it's a good word. It's not maskana, but asik. Okay. Anyway, good. They say, kol mile meitavu.
Everything counts as meitav. The ilo mizdavin hach mizdavin the duchta acharisa. That if we can't sell it over here, we're going to sell it somewhere else. The vad me'ara, the lisei lay the meitav, but it's not so in the case of land. There we have to say meitav. There we can only the best of land. Ki hecha the likpoit salehad zvina, in order to cause a potential buyer to jump on it.
Right. So that's the quote. So now here,
the whole,
right. So now here you see, spell it out very, very clearly. We see that here the Bach says the source of the Tur is the Agamar of Rav Papa. Okay. Now let's see. Now he's going to comment. That was just a phrase, I would say, of Agamara, right? Okay. Now he says Alma.
Right.
Now
Alma means however, right? Or
Alma means therefore, or therefore.
Therefore.
Consequently, I think better.
Oh. Okay. The metaltalin hayutvei meitav mekarke. That movables are preferable to the best of land. Vafilu subin. Even subin, even bran is preferable to the best quality land.
Now you see what he just did here? He learned this Gemara. Go ahead.
He's reading Rav Papa here. This is like he's jumping right into Rav Papa and saying that this is what Rav Papa means, and therefore that's how the Tur is reading it.
Right. Now, what he did here was, when we analyzed Rav Papa, you see, Rav Papa makes a distinction between metaltalin and land, right? Metaltalin all forms of metalton are good because if you don't sell it here, you'll sell it somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Labar, he says, labar in the text, labar mi'ara, the lesev levi meitav.
Labar or Levad? Yeah.
He says levad. We have an agamara libar.
What does Labar mean?
Bar means excluding.
Excluding,
So it's in agamara, it's because this is a paraphrase. That's why I didn't want to put quotes around it. This is a paraphrase, right? So the question is when Reb Papa said that land is worse than metaltalin, right?
Yeah.
The question is, the Leisei, when the Gemara said you should give meitav in order that the buyers will jump at it, did that factor of the excitement of the buyers bring it up to the equivalent of metaltalin or not?
Right.
That's the whole question.
Right.
So we were learning according to the Rush, of course, what you don't, the Bechina, this factor of finding all these buyers around metaltalin and being able to get your money back is counteracted by the excitement that the fewer buyers have, and it causes an equation, right?
Yeah.
That's how we understood with the Rush. Now, the Tur, according to the Bach, is saying, no, the way the Bach read that Gemara is the Torah lowered the bar on what was acceptable and said even metaltalin, even the best of your land. But of course, that's a step down.
Like a b'diavad scenario.
Exactly.
Right.
Now that the Bach, in other words, the Bach is reading that into Reb Papa, right?
Right.
So now what they're handling is the source of the Torah. Where did the Torah get it? So the Bach is saying he got it from the Gemara. It was a svara. He had nothing to do with Balchov. Balchov is clearly what the Rush said about Balchov has only to do with Balchov. Nihilus Stellus, forget about that. The source of the Torah was this Gemara that put land at a lower value and kept it there even when it said Meitav, and the Torah said we're going to lower the bar and say b'diavad you can give Meitav, but it's only b'diavad, nothing else. If you don't have metaltalin, so we'll allow you to give land. You don't have to go out and sell the land yourself. Okay, we'll allow you to give land, but it has to be the best of land, and what we discussed very interestingly, and a little bit, and it's something that I'd like you to think about also, is the relationship between the two parties here. We said there's a person holding the money and the person that wants the money back. So the Torah has to protect both people from exploiting the other party. So when it came to the Nezikin, the Torah, the Mazik destroyed the property of the Nizak. There was absolutely no agreement that you should destroy my property. You, Baruch took my property away. So the Nizak has to pay money, the Mazik has to pay money back to the Nizak. Now, if he doesn't have it, we're not going to force the Nizak to go out and sell his land and bring money. That's what the Torah will say. Well, it depends if it's l'chadchila b'diavad, you see, but that will be the svara. How much are we, as the Torah now concerned? In other words, we say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I mean, the mazik may not be so excited about paying back because he didn't get anything in this deal. It's true that his animal destroyed something, but he's not so excited about paying back the debt for something that he's not going to get anything from. So we want to make sure that the Nizak gets his money. And there we have a push and pull. The Nizak has to get his money, the Mazik has to get his money back. and he also can't be taken advantage of. So here's that delicate balance. There's a machlokes here purely in Svar on how to read this Gemara, which is do we push land to a b'diavad situation and say you can only give it if you don't have kesef and metaltalin, or you raise it up, and that's a pure, according to the Bach, that's a pure svara, and that's how the Torah understood the Gemara. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now the advantage of the Beit Yosef is because at least we have a Gemara about Balchov that does put money in front of metaltalin, and there he can at least make a comparison between the two. But we said, what type of comparison is there? So we said, well, there is a comparison because last time we got together, we said there is a comparison because money was taken from the Nizak. You'll say, no, a cow was taken, but in the end, it's just money. He's not going to get another cow back. The Torah says that you have to give him money back. So and then it's a loss of money. So loss of money, he's just getting money back from the mazik. So maybe the same rules apply. So that's going to be a very delicate issue, and it's going to ricochet down the annals of history until we get to our present time. Okay, this type of analysis. But here it's the beginning. We see clearly the machlokus between the Beit Yosef and the Bach. How do we link up the halacha to the source? How does the Torah? And remember, this is always, and again, what happens when you try to make a abbreviation of the halacha and you get away from your sources. On one hand, you're gaining because a person can quickly find what to do. On the other hand, you're losing because you're not understanding the context of where the halacha came from, and that can have an impact on what the halacha is. So here we have a classic case of the Bach disagreeing with the Beit Yosef on the source of the Torah. Okay, so the Bach says from this Gemara we see that metal is better than karka. That's definitely true. Afilu subin. That's definitely true. Va'afal pi shanizek chofetz. Oh, you should read. Go ahead, keep reading. Va'afal pi.
Even though the damaged party would prefer land, Matzi,
Omelay, Matzi Omelay Mazik. The Mazik can say.
So the Mazik can say, Ana yehivna lecha kedincha mimeitav. I've given you according to halacha from meitav. The Torah says I have to give you meitav. And that means taltalim, even subin, that counts as meitav.
I mean, right. What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
I'm not obliged to give you land. That's what
exactly. I don't have to give you land.
Yeah.
I'm giving you meitav.
Right. So, Eila the im ein lo metaltalin yahiv leinu meitav sadehu dahainu. So only in the case that he doesn't have metaltalin, then he does have to give him meitav, and which means it is land.
So now when we go back to the...
So he's explaining how the logic flows very nicely in the tour. He doesn't need to bring in the Beit Yosef's explanation. It's just from a straight reading of the Gemara.
Right. And he's also reading it as if the problem is that the Nizak, the Nizak is demanding from the Pasuk, Meitav Haaretz, right?
Yeah.
So the Torah is saying he has no right to Meitav Haaretz because Meitav Metaltalin is just as good.
Right.
But what did the Torah say?
It flows nicely from the previous. It flows nicely from the reading of the Gemara. Reading the Gemara is implying that metaltalin and kesef is superior to meitav, and that, in other words, that the Rav Papa is saying that is implied in Rav Papa. So it flows very nicely that even if he demands karka, then he's saying, look, it's giving you the equivalent of karka. What's the problem?
Right.
I mean, in the sense that the Tur says that, the Tur spells it out, but it even works well with the Tur's reading of the Gemara.
Right, but let's look at the Tur. Let's look at the Tur itself. Keshabayim lahaglut nezik nisko rowan im yesh lamazik metaltalin. Rowan im yesh lamazik metaltalin ein yoden linixlei mochen karkasav eliyiten metaltalin. So the chiddush is, if he has metaltalin, then the Niza can't demand meitav haaretz.
Right.
So he's reading. I don't know how to explain this. Maybe you can explain it better in literary terms. He's reading in that the Torah is saying that as long as the mazik has metaltalin, the nizak can't demand karka because metaltalin is called meitav. So he's not. He is not reading this as the Beit Yosef, but actually he's putting meitav as the equivalent of subin, like we always thought. Why do I say that?
What do you mean?
Because what he's saying is the nizak has no right to demand subin. So
I see what you mean. Right.
So actually, he's learning. This picture here is the picture that we got when we read the text simply, and also was the picture that the Beit Yosef got. But really, the picture of the Bach is that kesef, subin, and meitav are all equal. And this is telling us that. This is saying, look, don't think, because it says meitav haaretz, that the nizak can command meitav. No, ein yodin limkor karkasav. The nizak may want us to do that, but we don't do that.
But this depends on an equivocation. Not I mean, I don't mean that in a bad sense. I mean that there's a necessary equivocation in the word meitav. On the one hand, the word meitav functions as a qualification of specifically land, and on the other hand, as part of the argument, meitav is equated with any other equivalent object. So because of that equivocation, you can say, look, you are getting meitav according to one definition of the word meitav, which is that meitav equals anything of equivalent value. You may not be getting meitav in the strict sense of the word, in other words, as applied to land, but so what? So what? He's almost like he's saying that's a derivative meaning of meitav.
Oh, well, what did Reb Papa say? That was Reb Papa's problem, not his problem. Reb Papa said, "Kol mile meitav hu."
Yeah.
He's the guy that did it. He's the source.
Yeah.
Meitav haaretz, you think that's a special quality that's above everything else? No. Meitav haaretz is a distinction between meitav haaretz and Venus and Zivris haaretz, but in metaltalin, it's all meitav. It's all meitav. So he's the one that switched the term from a contraction or in karka, or limitation of karka and everything else to all types of metaltalin. In other words, he said all types of metaltalin has a quality of meitav. That was his big chiddush.
It has a secondary effect, though, which is, it's interesting. It has the opposite effect. I mean, once meitav comes in that way to equate everything, it also protects karka. It excludes karka. In other words, it's giving us now a reason not to give karka.
Exactly. But it's not protecting. But it's not protecting the zizak. Again, we're looking at the two parties. It's helping the maz. It's excuse me,
Yeah, exactly.
it's helping the mazik, right?
Yeah.
Or it's saying, yeah.
The mazik, yeah. There is, in other words, what I'm saying is that this way of looking at it does see some kind of difference between karka, kesef, and subin, but because it's from the standpoint of the mazik now, it's I don't know how to put it, but it's almost seeing karka as more valuable in a way, from the standpoint of the mazik. It's allowing for the mazik to hold on to his land as something more valuable precisely by equating it. That's what's ironic. By equating it, making it equivalent to kesef and subin, it's actually, in a way, making it more valuable. You know what I mean? But only it's perspectival. It's introducing the perspective of the mazik in a strong way.
Right. His preference. He may think it's better. He may think land is better than metaltalin, and he has, and may want to hold on to his land.
Right.
But again, this was the problem of Abaya, because we always thought Meitav Haaretz was better than all forms of metaltalin, and Reb Papa switched that around. He said it's not true. Says Meitav Haaretz and metaltalin have the same factor in relationship to the Nizak collecting his money. That's all. We're just looking at, we're not looking about what is more desirable to the Mazik or the Nizak. We're looking at old reality of what's more like money. That's all. You just have to pay back money here. That's all.
What?
So are you paying money or not paying money? So if I'm giving you Subin, that's money. If I'm giving you Meitav, that's money. If I'm giving you Bein Zibris, it's not money. Fine. So I understand what you're saying, but now whatever the Mazik's desires are, that's fine, because we're not really caring about him so much. I mean, as long as he's getting money, as long as the Nizak gets his money back, and that's really all the Nizak wants. That's how Reb Papa says. The Nizak just wants his money back. He knows his cow is gone and not going to get a new cow. He just wants the money back. That's all. So the Mazik says, look, the Torah says Meitav Haaretz as a chiddush, that in land the Meitav Haaretz is equal to all types of metaltalin. They're always Meitav. Why? Because you get your money back. There's no difference. So actually, here the Bach is putting back the tour with his father, and yeah, and saying that this whole thing is coming from Reb Papa, and all the things are equal. Why did the Torah say if the Mazik has metaltalin, then you don't take his karka? Because he's explaining that the Nizak would be saying, hey, it says Meitav Haaretz. I have to take your property. So the Torah is saying, no, you don't. You only have a right to get Meitav. And according to Reb Papa, all this metaltalin is called Meitav, because you know, so you have to take it.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Did I lose you? I lost
Okay,
you?
I couldn't hear. Yeah, I lost you for about 30 seconds.
Okay. So what am I saying? I'm saying that according to the Bach, you have to always look in any argument what is gained and what is lost. Okay? There's always a iyun here. There's always a judgment call here.
Yeah.
So, oops, what happened? Did you leave? You came in?
No, I'm still here. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That usually means someone came in. Whatever it means, it means. But the point, okay. But the point is, in this careful analysis, we see what is gained and what is lost. So, the Beit Yosef says that the source of all this is Balchov. and he splits off the tour from his father, and he says that the tour is bringing this din of a preference of metalton over karka from Balchov. And that's very, first he's splitting off his father. His father only said it in Balchov, and he's making a new relationship, which we're going to have to investigate. That's the difficulty over there. But what he gained is at least he has a source to put. He has a source that says that Subin is better than Metalton is better than Meitav. He has a source in Balchov.
Yeah.
But it's so the gain of the Bach is that he puts, first of all, the tour with his father. He makes the tour be Reb Papa, and he actually makes everything equal again. But he explains, this is what I wanted to get with you. He's explaining the tour to be answering the taina of the Nizak. When the tour said, when the Beis Din is going to collect its money, right? If the mazik has metaltalin, he can give it. It doesn't matter if the Nizak wants land and he yells meitav. The Torah is saying that if the mazik has metaltalin, then we don't take away the meitav haaretz. You might think so because the pasuk says meitav haaretz. Says no, we don't take it away because the mazik has a right to give subin, which is meitav, and that's Reb Papa.
Right.
Very interesting. What I have to think about myself, and what I'd like you to think about, is in the words themselves, is this more dochek? In other words, when we first read the tour, we thought he was holding this position. Now, how did he change the same words and come to the position that Kesef is equal to Subin and Meitav? What did he do to do that? So we can, I would just like to understand that consciously. I mean, I understand what he did. He said really everything is equal, and we're talking about the mazik's rights. The Beis Din does not have the right to take away karka from the mazik. Why would you think so? Because it's meitav haaretz. But no, as long as he gives him metaltalin, that's called meitav, the mazik can give it. Okay? Beseder. So that's the Bach. Go ahead. Yeah, my question was, how come we thought originally that this is what the scenario was? And what did the Bach do in the words to change the scenario that Kesef is equal to Subin and Meitav? You hear what I'm asking?
Yeah.
He's got to lose something here, because when we first read this, it seemed that the simple meaning of the words is the Beis Din collects from metaltalin and doesn't collect from land.
Well, he seemed, I think, just to my eyes, that he really seems to bring out the inner logic of that, which is that we're looking at it from the standpoint of the mazik. We're looking, we don't want to penalize him unnecessarily by dipping into his land. I don't know. I get the sense that he's bringing that up in a very. I like the Bach a lot because it's very clean. The Beit Yosef brought in a lot of furniture with the whole Balchov.
Right.
And the Bach just takes the furniture out, and he says, "No, look, you just got to read it in a very straight and clean." I mean, you have to look for the implications. That is the move. That's the price he has to pay. So he's narrowing in on the implications in what Rav Papa is saying. But I don't know. I think it's a nice move.
Yeah, it definitely gains. It definitely solves a lot of problems. Okay, so let's write down the Bach. Okay, these are okay. Okay. right? So he said, now, aval. That's the number 5.
Aval im hamazik chafetz litin lo karka. If, nevertheless, the mazik does want to give him karka, I guess in the way that he's asked for, he's complying with the wishes of the nizak. The nizak chafetz. The mazik wants to give karka. The nizak chafetz metaltalin, but the nizak is asking for metaltalin.
The opposite case, right?
Yeah, the opposite, right? So, ein hanizak yachal lechoyfer. The nizak cannot force the mazik now to pay him with metaltalin. Elanoten lo idis karka osav. He gives him the best of his land. Kedichsiv kra metav sadehu metav karmi shalom. So he has all the cards in his hand, and he has the pasuk with the direct and simplest meaning of the pasuk, which is that he has to pay with metav, which he can always fall back on. But since he has the other pasuk with Rav Papa's reading, so he always has the freedom to pay with metaltalin also. So really, it's up to him. Really, it's all up to him.
Right. Now here we're going to read number 6, you see, because here's a weakness that he brings up in his own hypothesis here, his own thesis, which is how come the Torah didn't bring this case. The Torah is, according to him, the Torah is only talking about the case where the Nizak wants Meitav, and the Mazik says, no, I'm not giving to you, I'm giving Taltalin. Right. But since all 3 things are equal, and we're putting all the cards in the hands of the Mazik, so we can also have the opposite scenario, right? That the Mazik says, no, take my best land, don't take away my Rolls Royce, okay? Okay. Right. And then he still has the upper hand. Why didn't the Torah write that case? After all, it's another permutation. So he answers.
Umalo kasav rabbeinu, yeah, klum. The pshita ben nezikin. Like he said, it's obvious.
The pshita hu ben nezikin. Right.
It's obvious in the sense that it's pshita in the sense that the pasuk itself says that.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly right. The pasuk says it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the open pasuk. He didn't have that. It's not a chiddush. So he's telling you the big. According to the Bach, the Torah is writing the chiddush case. Right. The chiddush is that the mazik doesn't have to give his land, but the fact that he can give the land if he wants, that's an open pasuk. That's an open pasuk. So he didn't have to write that case. Okay. Now he continues. Dal korchacha. Dal korchacha.
Oh, dal korchacha lo kasav harosh.
Perakama de baba kama.
Perakama de baba kama. Rabbeinu le'al b'samuch. What's Kuf Aleph?
It's Kuf Aleph. Ela b'balchov. What he's saying is that the rush that we read in Bakama, and also the tour who's going to talk about Balchov later on in Kuf Aleph, where there is a where the creditor is allowed to take the metaltalin before, right, because it's closer to money. So there, that was only spoken about Balchov, says the Bach. Okay. Don't make this crazy, importation from Balchov. That's, keep the tour with his father and keep what the Rush said only located to Balchov. And he also brings Kubalov, which is Balchov, with Rabbeinu, where the tour says the Balchov has the creditor has an ability to get metaltalin. That's because it's a specific din in Balchov where we don't want to close the door on the delis. Go ahead. So keep reading. The im chofetz hamalva.
The im chofetz hamalva metaltalin. That if a borrower will prefer
No,
the Malv is the lender.
the creditor, right? He has the money.
If the creditor prefers to be paid back with movables, and halova yachal lechoyfa likach mimenu karka, the debtor can't force him to be paid back with land. The kevon zuze yahav yahiv shakel umikarav loses expect. Since he paid him, since he lent him money, so he should pay back with money or whatever is closest to money.
Exactly.
And that's the metalton.
Right.
I find it's interesting that he points. I like how he points out that not only did the Rosh keep this halacha separate. In other words, he put it in Balchov in a separate category, Balchov, but also the Tur followed him, right?
Exactly.
He's pointing out here.
Right.
The Tur himself followed, yeah.
He repeated, but there it's not such a big chiddush because in Balchov it obviously belongs there that there's a preference of metalton over karka, right?
Yeah, right.
But to say that he imported that din by himself into Nezikin is very, very stretched.
Right.
Okay. And that's what he says. Aval ben Nezikin.
But in this case of the damages, the damaged party cannot force the damager to give him metalton. That's only something that can apply the balchol.
Exactly. That's what we're going to say here.
A creditor can do that, not a
right.
damaged party. The law chas of Rabbeinu ele heicha dehamazik chafetz litin lemetaltonin. So the Tur did not write. He didn't say this.
Except, in other words, he only said it.
He only said that the damager, he only spoke about the case where the damager desires to pay him with the movables. And the damaged party only would like to be paid with land. So what's he saying here? That he only mentioned this case because...
He only mentioned this, the case where there's, again, where
the opposite is obvious from the Balchov.
So where the mazik wants to give metaltlin, but the nizak says, no, I want your land.
Right.
There, in that case, the nizak has no power. We have to, what I should have made as a chart here is because you have to line up who are the associative parties, right? In other words, there's a malva and a lova and a mazik and a nizak, right? But who is the malva like? Who is the creditor like? He's like the nizak, right? Even though it's, right? Because they're both trying to get their money back. So the malva and the nizak are trying to get their money back, right? And the mazik and the lova are returning the money, right? So when it comes to Nezikin, the mazik has all the cards in his hand. No matter what the lova wants, the mazik can decide what to give. But when it comes to the debt, there, the malva has all the cards in his hand, not the lova. In other words, if he decides he wants money over land, he can take it.
Right.
So here, I should have put this one again. I didn't organize this. The document blew up on me. It's terrible. I can tell you my tsaris. That whole document that I was working on, some reason got corrupt, and I worked for a few hours trying to get it back together. I couldn't do it, so it doesn't matter. Well, whatever. But anyway, so here, lokas Rabbeinu Elohech the mazik chofetz bo metaltalin, and the nizak eno chofetz ela bakarka. That's what the case that the Torah is talking about. The nizak says, "I want your land," and the chiddush case is what the Torah is talking about, and says, "You can't get my land because I'm giving you meitav." As it says, the pasuk, Meitav Sedehu. V'korma chayav likach metaltalin. And why did he say the? And he says that the hold on. Yes, the nizak is chayav to take the metaltalin, right? Kedekasiv nami kro yoshiv afilu subin, and subin is meitav. So the Torah was talking about the Chiddush case where the nizak is saying, I want your meitav karka. And the Torah is saying, forget about it. You can't get it because I'm giving you meitav ar, I'm giving you meitav metaltalin. That's fine. But in the case of Baal Chov, there, all of a sudden, it's actually the Chiddush here is on the Mazik, right? The Chiddush really is the Mazik's case. The Mazik has the power to give what he wants. But in the case of the Nizak, right, the Malva has the power to take what he wants. Of course, they're two different cases completely. Okay? Now he writes number 10. Ukudalo.
V'delo kanira medivrei Beit Yosef.
Yes, and this is not like
not
like what the Beit Yosef appeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The Haven medivrei Rabbeinu the Chavan son Loimar, which I guess he understands from the words of Rabbeinu from the Torah to mean the chafinan lavel
Lova.
The chafinan lavel mazik litain lo metaltalin. That what's lova?
Yeah. What's his lova here?
The chafinan that we force something.
There's a mixed metaphor here.
Mazik.
There's a mixed metaphor here. What's going on here?
Is this the lova?
I'll have to look in the text itself in 1 second.
That's where we were stuck last time. I remembered we had this problem last time too.
The confin really, the confin lova lamazik liten lataltalin. Maybe that's what we said. The confin and lova ulamazik. They're the associative cases, right? The lova owes the money and the mazik owes the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So according to the Beit Yosef, the lova is like the mazik, and they are both forced to give metaltalin.
Right.
Is that correct? In other words, that's what the Beit Yosef said. In the Beit Yosef said that just like the malva can force the lova to give him metaltalin before land, so too the Niza can force the mazik to give metaltalin before land, right? That's the position of the Beit Yosef in the Torah, right? Okay, the Gafin and Lova, I think that means umazik. I would not put a lamed here. I wonder if I have the text. I wonder if it's there. Another page. That's the pre-show. That's the second page. Where's the second page?
What is this page?
This is the Shulchan Aruch itself. Okay, the kafan aloma, the kafinin lay lamazik. Oh, you see what he says here in the text? It's not written like my text. Okay, kanira midivrei Beit Yosef. It's not. Excuse me. Udalo kanira midivrei Beit Yosef. Right. The havin midivrei Rabbeinu. The kafan aloma, the kafinin lay lamazik litan lo metaltalin. Got that word. I don't know where I got that word from. A mistake, but He cuts out that word. The confinin lay
Oh,
le.
it's
He
just the
cuts
yud
out
that
this
came
word.
above.
What? The
No,
confinin
no, no.
lay.
No, it's
Ah,
yeah, the yud should be, yeah. Leila
oops.
Mazik, it's just to the Mazik.
That's
Yeah.
it. The confinin lay la mazik liten lo metaltle.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be in a. Yeah. Okay. Beseda.
Yeah.
V'holesa. That's not true. We don't force the mazik to give metaltle. Ella kid the yad hamazik al alyona. The mazik has the free choice. He's the upper hand. V'kach meforish b'divrei Hashem Hamagid Mishnah, I suppose. Reish Perik Aleph Techovel Beperik Tough the Hayan Niskemam. Okay, this is the Magid Mishnah now. Now that's a new source, which is very interesting. The Magid Mishnah is on the Rambam. Okay, but he wants to say the Magid Mishnah explained the Rambam this way also. So we didn't. That's another source we have to look up. Okay, so that's the Bach. The Bach disagrees with the Beit Yosef, and he says the Chiddush of the Torah is only to give the power to the Mazik. Don't think the Mazik has any special powers. The Nizak has any special powers to take what he wants. The Mazik has all the cards. Papa, like we always thought, all three things are equal. That puts the rush and the tour together, and there's no comparison at all to Balchov. Balchov is a separate issue altogether.
I like, what's nice also about this Bach is that it starts off as a different interpretation, different way of reading the Rosh, which disagrees with the Beit Yosef, or reading the Tur rather. But he actually, what I like is that he ends off with a real nafkamina. It actually has a halachic implication. The Beit Yosef's reading of the Tur has a halachic implication with which he disagrees.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
A very serious halachic implication.
Right.
Very, very serious. Wonderful. So now let's read a little of the Drisha. You have a little more energy here to keep going, or how are you doing with your time?
I'm worried. The truth is, I'm just a bit worried because we have to wake up early.
Okay, so let's stop here. It's a good time. But
yeah.
Send me an email or up to the Drisha. This is the way thinking goes. I mean, in order to get into the depth and the subtlety, it takes time, especially we're doing it. Baruch Hashem, we're spending the time, and then that's exactly what we want to do here. See exactly what the issues are that each generation is handling here. You see, the Bach and the Beit Yosef is handling the Tur. That's the Masara. They're not going back into the Gemara and bringing a new halacha here. They're trying to explain the Tur. Okay, so and they're arguing over Bashat and the Tur. And again, this is this whole problem. Whenever you make a kitzer, you're always going to have this problem of where you got it from. But what's nice about the Bach is that he lines up the Tur with his father. Okay, whereas the Beit Yosef had to rely on a whole new svara that the Tur is arguing with his father and porting the dinim from Balchov into the Zikin. Very, very interesting. Okay.
Is anybody going to bring the Beit Yosef back in?
Sure. Because the Beit Yosef, you have to understand, the Beit Yosef is what we call the Bala Soda. Why? Because he writes the Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
So now everybody's going to now move. They're all going to move, the herd down, the flock. Let's put it back. He's now going to move to the Shulchan Aruch. Right?
Right.
Who has a certain a position already in the Tur. So now the Ramah is going to come in, and you woo, woo, all the fights are going to happen because this is a very serious battle over here. Very serious battle, and it's going to have ramifications all the way to all the way down the generations. We're going to see it. Okay, all the way. This is the setup. We're setting up the the information to see what the svaras are and how they're moving. And they're very, as you said, there's practical differences here. We're not talking about a theoretical, well, who does he hold like? There's a very, very practical difference in the zikin, whether you hold that that meitav is a b'diavad choice or a lechatchila choice. So we're going to do a few more people on the tour. We're going to do all the people around the tour on the page, of course, and then we'll move to the Shulchan Aruch and see what the Shulchan Aruch says when he pesaks halacha, and then we'll see all the people around him, and that's what it's all about. It's fantastic. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
really wonderful.
It's really amazing.
Okay, you should have tomorrow's Rome, the Colosseum.
Thank you. Yeah. It's all of the rush of Esav,
Yeah, exactly. Esav. Yeah. How did I just learn how Rome was created? I just did it. Rome was, Shlomo Melech. Yeah, B'daf Yomi. Shlomo Melech, when he married not Batsheva, the Queen of Sheba, the one.
The Queen of Sheba, yeah.
So that's how Rome happened. I have to look it up for you. That's how Rome started. It was that Avera that caused Rome to get its power.
Wow.
Okay, we have to.
That's in today's Daf Yomi?
No. It's a few. That's why if it was today's, I would have remembered it. It's.
Okay.
I'll try to send that over to you so you can have a context to your visit. But that's it. Esav. Okay. Have a great one and a wonderful time. And so we'll see you when? Wednesday.
Yeah.
Where will you be on Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Oh, but now you have
We're going to be in Rome for a week.
But you'll have your iPad.
Sorry, my what?
Your iPad.
Yes, and it should work. So it's.
It worked fantastically. Okay, have a great vacation. We'll see you.
All right, thank you.
All too.